Good morning, good morning, good morning. Kind of up a little early today, y'all. Went to bed sort of early. Just cooking with JW. My cup of Joe listening news hour. Welcome in. And I'm going to be checking out the Lincoln Project. So when you come in, you're welcome. Or stop by, say hi, leave a like. It helps me out a lot.
Just podcast. Really appreciate you tuning in as always. We got a great doubleheader show today, and it's a crazy statistic that there is not one but two Lincoln Project alumni running for Congress this year. Now, there are rumors that I'm running for Congress in Florida CD2. I am not. I have a candidate there I'm supporting already, but I appreciate the attention. Thank you thank you for the kind wishes, but that is not in the cards. I've got other work to do to help save democracy across the board. So I will not be making a run for Congress this year. I'm supporting Mr. Pedro down here. He's a terrific candidate for us. You can check him out. But in the meantime, we have got two Lincoln Project co-founder, George Conway, and our former executive director and former director of our Veterans Operations, Fred Wellman. George is running in New York, and Fred is running in the great state of Missouri. I am delighted to have both of them on the show today, and I think you will enjoy it. Let's get right to it.
Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well trained, well equipped, and
Well, folks, welcome back to the Lincoln Project Podcast. I am absolutely delighted to bring you our good friend of Lincoln Project co-founder, and now a candidate for Congress from the great city of New York. It is George Conway, the one, the only, the man who has been a thorn in Donald Trump's side as long as I have, and in some ways even more viciously. And I am thrilled.
That's not possible, Rick.
Well, I don't know. I'm a generous host.
You are indeed modest.
George Conway is with us, and folks, he is running for the 12th congressional district in the great city of New York, in the great state of New York. As Jerry Nadler has decided he is done with Congress, this seat is open, and George has jumped into this race with both feet, and he's running on a platform that I think a lot of folks will understand very clearly. It's to hold this president and this administration accountable, and to get us back to a place where we are not governed by madmen. George, welcome to the Lincoln Project Podcast. As always, my friend, talk to us about the race.
You basically summarized it. That's my theory. That's my platform. And I think, I obviously think it's going to resonate here in New York. I think it would resonate in other places. But I also think it's sort of important, even in New York, there are people who kind of don't quite get it, even though they hate Trump and they despise Trump and they absolutely say, yeah, we're happy that you're against Trump. But they're saying, well, but we can't do. There's a sort of learned helplessness, even in New York, where it's like, well, we can't do anything about Trump. But we can, we just have to worry about our local concerns and wait them out. And, we have a nice city or we have a nice life here. I mean, we can make things more affordable. We can do all of these things. And I agree. There are obviously things that we can do from a local standpoint to make things better. But the problem is you can't really do a lot of that stuff until he's gone. Perfect example. I was just I'm here in my building in West Chelsea, and I'm just looking out the balcony. There's this project called the Gateway Project. It's right out my window. It's see those train yards right there? Those are the LIR training yards, training yards. And one of the things that's happening is they're building a tunnel. You can kind of see it down here. There's a tunnel, right? That's going to be the new Amtrak tunnel.
But Trump had a little hissy fit over
Trump, right? Because this is a state that doesn't like him, a city that doesn't like him, and he's cutting the funding for that illegally.
Yes.
And it's a multi-billion-dollar, multi-year project, tens of thousands of jobs. But it doesn't just affect New York City; it affects New Jersey.
Sure.
It affects the entire Northeast corridor. So this is exactly the kind of infrastructure project we need in America.
Yeah.
And we certainly need it in the most densely populated place of the city, in the country, in the most heavily traveled corridor in the country. And he's cutting it off. Why? Retribution. Yeah, spite and retribution.
Work on the nation's biggest transportation effort, known as the Gateway Tunnel Project, is grinding to a halt, with hundreds of construction workers facing layoffs due to an indefinite suspension in federal funding by the Trump administration. The $16 billion project is intended to create a critical new set of rail tunnels under the Hudson River connecting New York and New Jersey. The funds were approved under President Biden and were frozen by President Trump in October. Nationally, shutting this project down would cause a $16 billion hit to the country's economy over a 4-year period, according to the Regional Plan Association. It could also cause a loss of $7 billion in taxes to federal, state, and local governments. New Jersey officials and union workers spoke about the impact of that action earlier today.
This project is a stretch of train that isn't just vital for New York and New Jersey, it is vital for the entire northeastern corridor, the busiest rail stretch in all of North America. This is all being put on the line now by a president that seems to just want things named after him.
The president asked Senator Chuck Schumer to consider a deal to rename Penn Station in New York City and Dulles Airport right outside of Washington here in his name, and then he would unfreeze that $16 billion.
And he's a perfect example. He's done it with healthcare. He's doing it with ICE, which isn't really an immigration enforcement. He's doing it with everything. He's basically running the government like a mob operation.
Right.
Pay me, come to me, give me your voter rolls, give me your money, give me your, he's doing it to foreign countries and he's doing it to Americans. And first of all, it's completely violent of his oath of office. It's of course lawful. It's criminal. But it really, you can't separate it from how it hurts people. Right. And that's the idea, whether it's the people in Minnesota or the people who are working that job down there, you cannot separate out his corruption and criminality from the well-being of the people whose well-being he's supposed to provide for.
George, I think that's such a good point, because a lot of people are like, oh, Trump is just crazy, and it hurts in a meta kind of way, but it really doesn't. It drills down. I mean, I was recording something a little earlier about these farmers who are losing everything across the country. Correct.
We worry about drought. We worry about pricing. We worry about equipment. We worry about financing. This tariff is just another thing that we have to worry about.
Todd Western III is a soybean farmer in Waterloo, Iowa. He says trade tensions between the U.S. and China are fueling uncertainty for his business. China, the world's largest buyer of soybeans, hasn't pre-purchased any soybeans for the upcoming U.S. harvest.
The revenue on our farm is just like any other farm. It's volatile.
Western and other farmers like him are also concerned tariffs will drive up costs. Current rates will mean higher prices for items ranging from fertilizers to farm equipment to tractors.
We do this for the legacy of the farm, and so it's a labor of love.
Todd Western III is a sixth-generation farmer who grows corn and soybeans across more than 200 acres of land on 2 separate farms.
Our farm was established in 1864. They traveled away out of slavery and settled in Iowa.
Despite a strong planting season, the price of soybeans nationally has taken a hit. One factor, due to the ongoing trade dispute, the Chinese government has instructed its importers to avoid purchasing U.S. soybeans.
Our major export commodity, our number one agricultural commodity is soybean.
China imports an average of 61% of the world's traded soybeans, including over a fifth of U.S. exports.
It's the same story. There's probably thousands of construction jobs that are now screwed in Jersey and New York City. Some union guys, no doubt. And he just doesn't see past the hatreds of the moment. And so,
But it's not just that he doesn't see past the hatreds of the movement. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody
Right.
but himself and the people who help him.
correct. So you've got a very good possibility this fall that Democrats are going to sweep the House, and increasingly because of what Trump is doing, he's handing the Democrats this election a little more every day. What committees do you want to serve on in Congress when you make it to DC in order to start holding him accountable? And what does that look like when you're there?
Look, I mean, obviously the House Judiciary Committee, Government Reform and Oversight, the two committees that are most likely to conduct investigations into the corruption and illegality, and also to conduct impeachment hearings, because the whole crew has to go. The whole crew
has to go.
And, you know, even if people say, well, we don't, again, it's the learned calculus. Well, who knows, we have the votes, we may do Republican votes, and all that stuff. It's like, you can't wait till you have the votes. You have to make the case. And you have to make the case to the public, and you have to put pressure on him, and you have to put pressure on the shameless, craven cowards who stand up for him no matter what.
Right.
The Susan Collinses of the world, and you know, the people, you know, and look, if it fails, at least you try. But it's not going to fail because we made this a self-fulfilling prophecy that he can get away with whatever he wants. Right. He can't do it.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
We all have to fight. It's a combined, you know, a combined arms effort, if you will. It's gotta be. We need lawyers like me who are aggressive and are not afraid of Trump in Congress to prosecute the case, to prosecute on the floor of the Senate. If there's an impeachment trial, when there's an impeachment trial, we need people out on the streets, and it all has to be a unified effort together. And we have to see, you know, we have to see electeds out on the streets at the No Kings rallies, everything. We have to get to that point where, you know, change can happen, and so political, comparative political, comparative politics, they basically need 3.5% of the population in a democracy that is undergoing stress to make real change. I think we can get there. I think he's going to make us there. Yeah, and that's what this is all about. And it requires a multi-front war, and it requires basically saying the guy's a fascist, he's a criminal, he has committed multiple high crimes and misdemeanors. And the one thing that the framers of the Constitution gave us ultimately as a protection was it gave Congress power for impeach and remove criminals.
And no matter how hard it is,
correct.
If you let a criminal get away with it,
right?
You know, and I always go back to this. You know, even Nixon had the dignity,
right,
to leave. Even Nixon had the dignity to go, and he was probably the most monomaniacal president before Trump in our lifetimes.
Correct.
In that kind of way. Their sheets don't usually fail all at once. It's sort of the small things. The corners won't stay put. The fabric starts to feel thin and scratchy. And you and I have talked about this since 2014 or so. This guy is not healthy. This guy is not well mentally. And the dangers to the country, I would argue, are mounting very quickly, which is why I think because of his mental illnesses, I think this argument of starting to take out his enablers by impeachment, pressure, removal, etc., is a powerful one, because right now no one says no to this guy in the White House.
Correct. Right. And we have to show people that there are consequences for supporting him. That he is leading them over the cliff. And I think we have to show that on multiple levels. We have to show that to the people out in Iowa who are just on their farms. We have to show it to the mid-level politicians throughout the country, like that gubernatorial candidate in Minnesota who realized, I can't run as a Republican. I can't. There's no way anybody with the R next to his name can win with what's happened in Minnesota. And we have to do that with, you know, the Susan Collinses and all of these Republican senators who deep down they know better, but they're afraid. You know, and that's, it has to be a full-on, no holds barred, legal and political challenge. And you can't just say, we're just going to wait him out. We don't have
years to
the
wait him out.
time.
No.
He's the amount of destruction that he has done in 1 year and 9 days is almost catastrophic. It is catastrophic as it is, and we don't have 3 years. We may not even have till the midterms. I mean, he's going to try to fuck up with the midterms.
You got to win the midterms. Because if we don't win the midterms, it's just gonna be, I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
Yes,
We
you
don't
will.
impeach them, you know why? Because they're meaner than we are.
I
Yeah.
think that's right. I mean, I think that the stuff down in Fulton County, Georgia this week was exactly a pregame warm-up.
Right.
Hey, Sidney Powell's back. You know, they're gonna screw with the midterms.
I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is down there, national, I mean, what the actual, and the whole bit in Minnesota where Pam Bondi sends a letter to I guess it was the governor,
Right.
saying, hey, maybe we'll pull back the brown shirts,
Right, if you give us
brown
your voter
shirts,
file.
if you give us your voter rolls. What the hell does that have to do with anything, let alone immigration enforcement?
Last time I checked, and I'm not an attorney, but states control their election process, and this idea that there's some
Yeah,
sort
that
of,
was kind of a federalist kind of
yeah,
thing.
kind of one of those like
the kind of-
early
yeah.
and often
Yeah,
federalist principles.
Yeah.
But I mean, I find it shocking that people have that learned helplessness, that they have that sense of like, oh, well, you know, the Democrats will screw it up and Trump will somehow always emerge victorious. I mean, one of the reasons I love that you're running is that it does show Democrats, like, you can have a spine, you can have a brain and a spine, know how to go at this guy, and you don't have to feel afraid to go out and take a swing at the bad guys.
As America takes the world stage, we see greatness and we feel honor and pride. But when we see our president, we feel none of those things. He's a dangerous, delusional criminal who shreds the rules and rigs the game for himself. I've faced off with him before. Now I'm ready to take him on in Congress. I'm George Conway, and I approve this message because we need to throw Donald Trump out of the game and give hardworking Americans a shot. Right. I mean, look at the way I look at it is this. I mean, look, this is not a shot at the Democratic Party at all. There are Democrats who are laying it out there on the line every day. You know, I mean, Jamie Raskin, Adam Schiff, so many others, Chris Murphy. I mean, I can't name them all. But there is still just kind of an inertia. There's just an inertia of like, oh, well, you don't have the votes. Let's see what we can do. I mean, look, they're on the right track, for example, in voting down the ICE and DHS funding, which I think they just did.
They did,
I think I
there's
saw
one
that.
vote earlier today that
Right.
while we're recording this, folks, on Thursday, yeah.
And there's this talk about, well, maybe we can get some things put in the bill that will prevent ICE from doing certain things. And, that's ordinarily I'd say that's great, but the problem is it's not enough.
No.
The problem is these people, there's a law that says all the Epstein files that have to be produced, and basically only a tiny percentage of them, they do not follow the law. So putting something in the law as an exchange for funding isn't going to cut it. They're going to violate the law no matter what. And I think a different mindset has to be put into place, because what Trump is doing with this succession of votes on interim funding is he's holding the government and the things that the government pays for hostage for his pet project of fascism. In other words, if you you're not going to get all your government goodies, and we're going to shut the government down if you don't approve, my $50 billion or whatever the hell he's asking for Gugino and company.
So, I mean, I made this argument to somebody today who asked me about your race. I said, listen, George is a guy who knows New York really well, lived there for a long time, there now, knows the city, and also knows like how to punch back if Trump says, okay, we're not going to fund X or Y project for the city, or that they're going to, roll ICE in at whatever level. You understand his psychology and how to fight him better than anybody else that's possibly going to think about getting in this race.
Except for maybe you.
Well, I'm not going
You're not wrong.
to, trust me, folks, I'm not getting in the race.
That's good. We'd knock each other out.
I know, it's terrible. But you've got this ability, I think, to fight him psychologically and politically and legally that most people haven't really assessed. And I think in an era where his nature is so punitive about everybody who crosses him, it's vital to have somebody who can be a real fighter in the 12th.
Yeah, and a real fighter, and I mean, I think I can do that. I think, because I just don't give a fuck, really. I mean, he can't do anything to me. There's
Right.
nothing he can do to me. And I think he kind of knows that.
Right.
And
He hasn't really come
I
out.
think
to you.
I think it. Well, he
Little bit.
he tweets shit at me, but he doesn't really know how to deal with me, because if he likes to intimidate people, and I just go right, okay, I go right back at him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
and he absolutely doesn't like me because I cost him $88 million in the Eugene Carroll case.
Which I love to this day.
I'm putting it on my gravestone. And the other thing about it is the way, I mean, talk about the psychology of this, and you have to stand up to bullies.
Always.
And if you stand up to bullies in the right way at the right moment and show that there's nothing to be afraid of, that he's really just a giant, stupid, ignorant, incompetent wuss.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it all breaks down for them. And that's why you have to do it. You have to go right at him, hammer and tong. And
Right.
that's always been my theory. There's also, there is psychological manipulation of him, which is actually, he's very easy. He's impossible to control, but he's easy to manipulate. And I think a lot of people who have worked for him have learned they think they can manipulate him because they know they can manipulate him, but they can't control him. But the point is, I don't have to control him. I can just manipulate him into doing things that are self-destructive, and we showing him for what, who he really is. And that's what we did with the Lincoln Project. That's what I did with Psychopath, 24. We just, if I had more money in 2024 to do that, it would have been, better. But we got to keep fighting. We got to keep doing it. We got to find a new way to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running here. Is like, okay, fine. I'm gonna do.
I love the fact that this is a real public service, and you don't need to do this. You don't need a job. You don't need a gig. This is just a mission for the people of New York and for the people of this country to have a fierce advocate against the most destructive president of our lifetime.
Look, I'm 62 years old. I made my career up at Midtown here. I should be out skiing somewhere, like Park City or somewhere where, I had a great career. I'm perfectly happy with my financial circumstances. I don't really want to do this. I should be just watching SportsCenter and going skiing and doing all that stuff. But this is my chance to give something back to the place where I made my career. And to the country. And I feel, I just feel like if I didn't do this and I didn't do what I have done over the past several years, and 2020 with the Lincoln Project and 2024, helping raise money for the Biden and Harris campaigns and running a super PAC against Trump. I mean, if I hadn't done all that, I couldn't live myself. I mean, it's all about.
I get it.
I just can't. The amount that this has cost me personally, financially, and my dog in the background there. It's a lot, but I don't give a shit. I really do not give a shit. It's like you only get one shot at life, and you wanna make the best of it and do the best you can and do do something right.
No, I feel you.
I spent 30 years not in a very financially rewarding job, but it was a slog. And this is my chance to do something where I feel like I'm accomplishing something, not just, just not for self-gratification, but just, I want to do something to make things better.
You heard that. Make things better. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, I am up pretty early. Oh, tell you. Yes. Look like I will be taking.
We have been counting the days when some.
We have.
As mayor,
Some medicine
ordered
time,
police to
y'all.
not work with ICE.
Some medicine time. Oh, wow. Oh, this cup of Joe is too good today.
We have been counting the days when something would finally happen of consequence to the way DHS has been running the ICE operation and everything around it. And finally, in this breaking story, which I'm going to show you in a few moments, the first cookie has crumbled, whether Donald Trump likes it or not. Because, of course, despite the actual shootings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, Donald Trump's attitude towards, I don't know, any form of changing tactics was this response.
Enforcement agents out of Minnesota. We want to keep our country safe. We'll do whatever we can to keep our country safe. No, not at all.
And then I want you to listen to Trump talk about how when ICE is actually somehow attacked by protesters, which they aren't being, this is his commentary about what ICE will do to American citizens. And I purposefully juxtapose it with images from January 6th attacking the Capitol. Listen to Trump here.
Folks on ICE protests, what did you mean when you said people will suffer an equal or greater consequence?
If they do anything bad to our people, they will have to suffer. I'm sorry. If they start spitting in people's faces, punching our people, punching our soldiers, our patriots, they will get taken care of in at least an equal way.
And if you didn't know, Tricia McLaughlin is kind of in the Caroline Lion Lips Levitt of the DHS. She's been the spokesperson, and she came out on CNN and started running this line of crap about a month or so ago here.
We have incredibly targeted immigration enforcement operations. Somebody is in the vicinity of this operation, of this target, then they could be asked for their identification. We've been vindicated by the Supreme Court, September of 2025. You all saw a case out of Los Angeles where they said we can use a reasonable suspicion.
That's
and then
profiling,
Mr. Trump decided
bitch.
to remind everybody, Trump, Noam, and Tricia, of the actual truth of what's gone on in Minnesota.
Well, ICE shot a mom in the face. ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old boy, Liam Ramos. ICE executed Alex Preddy. So this agency is out of control. We have to impeach Secretary Kristi Noem. We've got to haul these masked men before Congress so the world can see their faces. I would not vote to give this agency any more money. I would take that money that they put into this agency and put it back into our healthcare where it belongs.
Well, guess what, folks? The first cookie has crumbled in this breaking story.
Well, Sean, your viewers can see that car was driving, pouring cold water on the ground so that it would freeze the ground in front of our federal law enforcement vehicles so that they would potentially slide, crash, and potentially kill them. That is a federal crime that your viewers are seeing there.
And while it isn't Kristi Noem yet, it's about to be, because Tricia McLaughlin just got her hat handed to her and absolutely excoriated by MS Now. Check out this breaking story.
Good morning,
right here.
Shawanda.
Trump official gets venomous send-off on MS Now for
Having
leaving
my
behind
cup
a
of Joe
badly
pretty
scarred
early.
agency. MS Now's Antonia Hilton profiled departing Department of Homeland Security official Tricia McLaughlin, a woman who, in her Hilton's words, is known for her combative posture to the press and a relationship to the truth that is at times tenuous. Hilton opened the segment on Tuesday night with a clip of McLaughlin, a key media-facing figure, accusing Democrats of inviting terrorism against border officials. There's a highly coordinated campaign of violence against our law enforcement, said McLaughlin in the clip. There are foreign terrorist organizations who are going after our law enforcement who are shooting at them. The Democrat Party has decided that violence against law enforcement is okay. These rioters, these Democrat politicians, are protecting the worst of the worst criminal, illegal aliens among us. These agitators, these rioters are protecting these criminals. They're talking about this is racially based. Absolutely not. For the past year, McLaughlin has basically been the main gatekeeper for information out of DHS, and she has provided journalists, including myself, with non-responses, said Hilton.
Yeah, I went to sleep pretty early.
Even smears for the immigrants whose stories we've told on this network. Blame for the protesters, for the violence that they suffered, suggesting Renee Good, for example, was a domestic terrorist, saying Alex Preddy violently resisted the officers who shot him to death. And when DHS social media accounts began to push out a steady stream of content that experts warned were full of racist dog whistles and white nationalist content, McLaughlin dismissed criticisms as cherry-picking. Furthermore, Hilton continued, like her boss Kristi Noem, McLaughlin has faced questions about possible corruption. Last year, ProPublica investigated a $220 million DHS contract to produce a series of video ads starring Kristi Noem, and the main beneficiary of that contract was a company whose CEO is married to, you guessed it, Tricia McLaughlin. She told ProPublica, quote, "My marriage is one thing and work is another. I don't combine them. McLaughlin explained how she views that work in an interview last month with her hometown paper, the Cincinnati Enquirer. She continued, quote, media is so much of the battle, so to speak, on the immigration issue. So much of the debate is a public relations debate. It's a PR war. McLaughlin often fought dirty in that war, and now it appears she's throwing in the towel, leaving behind a badly scarred department after setting its credibility, and at times her own, on fire. Make no mistake, DHS is still, according to experts and judges, regularly violating people's rights, taking orders from Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, of course, said Hilton, and they have the massive war chest that they got in Trump's big budget bill. And even this shutdown can't keep their agents off the streets right now, but their momentum is slowing. Their agency is in limbo, and their spokesperson is now out the door. Okay, so they making her a scapegoat? Absolutely. Is it Christie Nome? No. Is it anything real on the Epstein files? No. But once the crack finally happens and water starts to leak through and you actually start dismissing people off of your team, that's just the beginning, because we know how Trump is. When anything isn't going right, he just throws the baby out with the bathwater. So while Tricia McLaughlin is the first to go, don't be surprised in the next week or so, as Trump's trying to pretend like he's going to push Congress over to end mail-in voting. Watch what happens at DHS, because first you got Gestapo, Greg Bovino out. Now Tricia McLaughlin is gone. Who might be next?
Who might be next? Wow. Hey, Lawrence.
And so for the first time,
the worst freaking state to live in right now is Illinois, and nobody's talking about it.
Get off my state.
first guest tonight was banned on television last night. Stephen Colbert's most popular guest of the year so far is not a movie star. He's someone most Americans have never heard of until CBS decided that their viewers should not hear from him last night on Stephen Colbert's program. In 2006, Stephen Colbert started using the phrase the Colbert bump to describe the surge in popularity that could happen for someone just by being on TV with Stephen. A surge in book sales, or in the case of politicians, a bump up in the polls, and now the Colbert bump has taken on new meaning. And we here at The Last Word stand ready to accept any guest on this program after that guest is bumped out of Stephen Colbert's show by cowardly corporate lawyers. Last night, when I watched Stephen Colbert tell the story of what happened at his show yesterday, I thought, let's get James Tallarico on this show tonight.
You know who is not one of my guests tonight? That's Texas State Representative James Tallarico. He was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers, who called us directly, that we could not have him on the broadcast. Then I was told in some uncertain terms that not only could I not have him on, I could not mention me not having him on. And because my network clearly doesn't want us to talk about this, let's talk about this. You've probably heard. So, you might have heard of this thing called the equal time rule, okay? It's an old FCC rule that applies only to radio and broadcast television, not cable or streaming, that says if a show has a candidate on during an election, they have to have all that candidate's opponents on as well. It's the FCC's most time-honored rule right after no nipples at the Super Bowl. There's long been an exception for this rule, an exception for news interviews and talk show interviews with politicians. Now that's crucial. How else were voters supposed to know back in '92 that Bill Clinton sucked at saxophone? But on January 21st of this year, a letter was released by FCC Chairman and smug bowling pin Brendan Carr. In this letter, Carr said he was thinking about dropping the exception for talk shows because he said some of them were motivated by partisan purposes. Well, sir, you're chairman of the FCC, so FCCU.
That actually wasn't a photograph of James Tallarico because the network wouldn't allow Stephen Colbert to actually even show an image.
of James Tallarico. It took CBS's lawyers almost 24 hours to come up with a response to Stephen Colbert. In a written statement, CBS said, quote, "The Late Show was not prohibited by CBS from broadcasting the interview with Representative James Tallarico. The show was provided legal guidance that the broadcast could trigger the FCC equal time rule for
Stop, they
two other
lying.
candidates, including Representative Jasmine Crockett, and presented options for how the equal time for other candidates could be fulfilled. The Late Show decided to present the interview through its YouTube channel with on-air promotion on the broadcast rather than potentially providing the equal time option." The CBS lawyers are factually and legally wrong, as anyone who knows the law should know. It would be impossible for James Tallarico's appearance or any politician's appearance on Stephen Colbert's show to trigger the FCC equal time rule. The rule does not apply to entertainment television like Stephen Colbert's show in any way. FCC Commissioner Ana Gomez issued a statement instructing the CBS lawyers on the law, saying CBS is fully protected under the First Amendment to determine what interviews it airs, which makes its decision to yield to political pressure all the more disappointing. The FCC is powerless to impose restrictions on protected speech, and any attempt to intimidate broadcasters into self-censorship undermines both press freedom and public trust. Remember this about the CBS lawyers. They are the weakest, most cowardly corporate lawyers in America. They are actually in a tie with ABC's lawyers, who we will get to in a moment. The CBS lawyers who are now trying to tell Stephen Colbert who could be a guest on his show work for a parent company that agreed to pay Donald Trump $16 million to settle a frivolous lawsuit by Donald Trump against 60 Minutes, which Donald Trump had no chance of winning, absolutely zero chance of winning. But those cowardly corporate lawyers agreed to pay Donald Trump $16 million in what Stephen Colbert correctly called, quote, a big fat bribe. Those lawyers should be witnesses in the impeachment trial of Donald Trump in the United States Senate right now for that bribe. That is their filthy spot that they now occupy in American political and corporate legal history. Right beside the ABC lawyers for their corporate parent Disney that agreed to pay Donald Trump $15 million in a frivolous lawsuit against ABC News, a lawsuit that Donald Trump would not have won. The entire legal team at ABC and Disney disgraced themselves, along with the corporate chieftains of Disney's Magic Kingdom, in their acquiescence to Donald Trump, in their settling a lawsuit that Donald Trump would not have won. The lawyers did not have the courage to use their legal skills to fight Donald Trump's attempt to get money from this company, Donald Trump's illegal interference in their business. And so they paid him off. America has 3 legacy networks, NBC, ABC, and CBS. They are our oldest networks, and 2 of them have handed over big fat bribes to Donald Trump with the approval of the most cowardly corporate lawyers known to be currently working in America. Not one of those lawyers offered a principled resignation over the big fat bribe. Not one of them. We have seen lawyers publicly resigning from the Trump Justice Department on principle from Washington to Minneapolis, but not one CBS lawyer, not one ABC lawyer. If those lawyers are watching tonight, they should listen to our last guest in this hour tonight, a real lawyer, a former public defender, Emily Galvin Almanza, who will tell them what our legal system is really about. Those networks and their corporate parents disgraced themselves with those payoffs to Donald Trump, and not one person involved in the decision, from the lawyers to the top of the company, the decision to make those payoffs, not one of those people has had the courage to resign in principle. Instead, they are busy policing Stephen Colbert's guest list. CBS lawyers were disgraced enough by the big fat payoff, and then they interfere with Stephen Colbert's show yesterday and then lie about the law today to desperately try to defend their own cowardice. Stephen Colbert conducted his interview with James Tallarico, but showed it only on YouTube, where it has received more views than any Stephen Colbert episodes so far this year. In fact, James Tallarico got double the audience that Taylor Swift got on Stephen Colbert's show. In the interview that is available on YouTube, James Tallarico offered an answer to why corporate lawyers living in fear of Donald Trump are trying to drive him off television.
Welcome back, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is a representative of the Texas State House who is currently running for the United States Senate. Please welcome to the Lake Show YouTube page, Representative James Tallarico.
Good morning, Joshua.
Now, here's the thing. I don't usually say this to a guest, but if people are watching this right now, it's because they found us online on YouTube. I did an act of the show that's on tonight explaining why it's not the first time you've caused some drama. FCC opening probe into The View after appearance by Tallarico. Do you mean to cause trouble?
I think that Donald Trump is worried that we're about to flip Texas. And this is the party that ran against cancel culture, and now they're trying to control what we watch, what we say, what we read. And this is the most dangerous kind of cancel culture, the kind that comes from the top. They went after The View because I went on there.
They cut it. Why they cut it? Did YouTube cut it too? Why did they cut it? I want to see the interview. Hello, friends. They cut
Wait,
the
if you were
interview.
locked up in Illinois juvie at Cook County,
I wonder why they cut the interview.
All right, guys, I didn't have time to get to these stories today on the show, but I wanted to talk about them, so here we are. First, let me talk about what happened with Spike Lee. So Spike Lee went to the NBA All-Star game, and he was sitting front row like he always is. He goes to, like, almost every single Knicks game. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't missed one in, like, a decade, okay? But he was wearing basically like Palestine flag suspenders, I think it was. It was like multiple pieces. I don't actually remember where the Palestine flags were, but he had multiple pieces of clothing and like accessories that had Palestinian flags. Okay, and this ignited a firestorm that was colossal. It was like way too big given what he did. The fact that he was wearing those flags. And the stuff people were saying was just so unhinged. They were saying that, like, this is basically a threat to the Israeli player. It's like the first Israeli player ever, I think, that made it into the NBA All-Star game. Honestly, he's some schmuck who I never fucking even heard of, and I watch basketball all the time. I mean, I kind of vaguely have heard of him, but I don't think he's anything special in terms of a player. I don't know how the fuck he made it to the All-Star game. But anyway, so this guy was playing, and like all these idiots online, these Zionist freaks, are claiming that like this is basically a terrorist threat against the Israeli player. This is like showing support for Hamas and showing support for October 7th. And you have people saying he should be banned from every single NBA game from now until the end of time. Just totally fucking unhinged shit. And there was even that radio host, I forget his name, something Carton? Is that it? And he was the guy who said he should be banned from every Knicks game because this is like unacceptable and it's a sign of bigotry and this and that. And like, guys, stop and think about this. His crime is like basically wearing a Palestinian flag. That's his crime. His crime is showing solidarity with a group of people that were just annihilated and literally wiped off the map in Gaza. Like over 80% of Gaza is rubble. It's totally gone now. We covered the other day on the show that they use these things called thermobaric bombs, which are basically vacuum bombs that get up to like 6,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and they boil your blood and instantly kill you. They vaporize you. They literally make you evaporate, and there's not a single trace of you left. Like, this is the shit that they did to Palestinians. They starved them to death. I mean, we don't even need to get into the specifics of like bombing schools and hospitals and, you know, UN buildings. And so they did all this shit. And now even wearing the flag to show solidarity with the people who were genocided and ethnic cleansed, they're effectively trying to ban that.
Wow.
They're trying to say, sorry, free speech doesn't extend to showing solidarity with people who were mass murdered, who basically had an October 7th attack every day for 2 motherfucking years. Okay, so shout out to Spike Lee, man, for just showing solidarity with Palestinians. You know, more people should be showing solidarity with Palestinians. And the fact that the Zionist idiots melted down and immediately jumped to, oh, you're calling for terrorism, or you support Hamas, or you support... No, bitch, there's a Hamas flag. And he wasn't wearing the Hamas flag. He didn't say dick about October 7th, okay? They're reaching so hard. And it's so disgusting, and it's so grotesque. And like, you want to talk about cancel culture. I've never seen a fucking cancel brigade this obsessed and this committed to the cause in my fucking life. And it was just gross to see. So shout out to Spike Lee for wearing that Palestinian flag, and fuck everybody who's coming after him. I mean, you guys are really outing yourselves. You are free speech haters, and you are genocide lovers. It really is that simple. Everybody should be wearing a Palestinian flag in solidarity with the fact that these people were just fucking holocausted right in front of our eyes. Like, shame on everybody who's trying to, you know, go after Spike Lee for this. That's one thing I wanted to discuss. The other thing that I wanted to discuss is, I don't know if you guys have seen what's going on with Congressman Randy Fine, but this guy, so first of all, he's gelatinous. This is a large man. This is, I mean, he is one of the largest men I've ever seen at his peak. I think he's lost some weight since his peak, but he is beefy. This is a beefy big boy. This guy makes J.B. Pritzker look like he's anorexic, okay? And this guy is also like a hardcore Zionist. Such a Zionist freak that he famously said on one of the news stations that we need to do to Gaza what was done to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's how disgusting this man is. Just openly saying, like, nuke Gaza, kill all these innocent people. He said a number of things like this that are just like the most depraved things I've ever seen. And then, mind you, he's also first in line to say, like, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar should be censured. And it's just crazy that they get held to the highest standard ever. Hey, Crystal, what was the thing that Rashida was censured for?
So what's the mood tonight?
Wow. Oh, man. Spiky. Good morning. This is a Cup of Joe listening news hour. And yeah, it's kind of early. My Cup of Joe was so good, though. Cup of Joe was so good.
The river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
So say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and they censure you, and Randy Fine has a fucking aneurysm and a meltdown saying you have to be censured. Ready for this? Here's a tweet that, Congressman Fat Tits said earlier. If they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one.
Damn.
In other words, Muslims are less than dogs. They are less than animals. I would rather have dogs around and no Muslims around. If you told me to press a button and wipe one off the map or get one out of our society, I would choose get Muslims out of our society. Now, I want
they
to
are so fucking racist.
That exact same tweet was posted by Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib or anybody on the left.
Right, they'd be
and
out.
Take out Muslims and put in the word Jews. What would the reaction be? What would the reaction be?
They would lose their minds.
You know the reaction? I know the reaction. It'd be a stage 5 meltdown. It'd be 24/7 coverage. People would be saying, you gotta fucking resign. Like, forget censoring. No, you gotta go. You're done. It's over. You are never going to be in polite society again. You're never going to be able to get a job again. It is a rhapsody. It is dunsies, okay? That's what happened. But Randy Fine says this.
Stay Republicans.
Now, I think Ro Khanna is actually trying to get him censured, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of that. But, of course, there's a massive double standard. And then, by the way, so everybody's calling him out over this. Everybody if you even have like 1% morality left in your body, you're calling him out over this, right? Well, guess what? He doubled down. So he comes out and he goes, for context, this is the leader of one of the key mainstream Muslim groups that supported Mamdani. By the way, that's all a lie. This person was not a key Mamdani ally in any way, shape, or form. But there's some like rando Muslim woman who tweeted that finally New York City is coming to Islam. Dogs definitely have a place in society, just not as indoor pets. Like we've said all along, they're unclean. So just a rando said that, and he used that to immediately go, Muslims are worse than dogs, and we should cleanse society of Muslims. Jesus Christ, dude. Jesus Christ. And also, now I see a lot of idiots on the right who psyop themselves into believing that Mayor Mamdani is going to like ban having dogs as pets. Like, do you guys realize how stupid you are? Do you realize how dumb this makes you look? Like, no, Zoran is not going to ban owning dogs. That's not going to fucking happen. And why are you singling out some rando tweet from some rando Muslim woman and using that to immediately go, oh, Muslims are worse than animals. Fuck the Muslims, yeah. And then he keeps doubling down and doubling down. He posted some, like, Daily Wire article Daily Mail article that said, famous Palestinian activist calls for dogs to be banned as indoor pets. This is what the right has. Understand?
They always make shit up.
Nothing. They have nothing. They can't talk about Trump invading U.S. cities with the U.S. military. They can't talk about Trump bombing 8 different fucking countries. They can't talk about Trump building concentration camps. They can't talk about him being super corrupt. They can't talk about the fucking Epstein files because all their babes are outed in that shit. They can't talk about anything. Inflation's going up and inflation's going up. They can't talk about any of that. So what do? Come up with some fake ass scandal. I don't know. The Muslims are gonna ban dogs or something. And they're like, oh, fucking Muslims, we hate the Muslims. Like, these people are so fucking grotesque. But thankfully, you scroll down in the reply, and it's basically everybody ruthlessly mocking him, telling him to go fuck himself. And yeah, he's garbage though. He is human garbage. He's got to go. He's got to be censured. He's got to resign. There's no place for people in polite society if they call for nuking Gaza. There's no place for you. There's no place for you. You should be censured. You should resign. And it's people like Congressman Randy Fine. You know what this guy said? He said, the first time I met Netanyahu, I didn't want to wash my hand afterwards because I shook his hand. I didn't want to wash my hand afterwards. Are you fucking kidding me? So, anyway, shout out Spike Lee, fuck you, Randy Fine, and all the Zionist freaks. I've never seen a bigger victim culture in my life than the Zionist freaks.
Yeah.
There's so many Zionist freaks, and all they have is to play the victim from now until forever. You have Zionists who are literally engaged in the crime of all crimes right this second, and they sweep that right under the rug and go right back to playing the victim and don't skip a beat.
All right, secular. Okay, that's it for me for this morning. I'd like to thank you all for coming in and have a cup of Joe with me and listening to the news. That's what I do. And I hope your day is great and blessed. Thanks for the likes. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.